Yo YouTube, in today's video I'm going to give you the best class in the game. And I don't mean to say the best AK-47 class because I genuinely believe this is the best class in the game, period. Like, I don't believe the AK-47 is the best gun in the game, which is kind of weird to say, but I believe this specific class for the AK-47 makes it the best gun in the game. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so here's the build. If you want to take a screenshot, if you want to just copy paste, there you go. However, I would really suggest that you stick through this breakdown part because I am going to go over every single attachment here and I'm going to explain in depth what every single attachment does. So I would encourage you that you stick through that. And the reason I say that is because if you know what every single one of these attachments does, then you know if you want to change something, if you want to change a certain aspect of how the gun feels, then you know which attachment you need to change. And I think that's super important because with most of these loadout videos, you shouldn't just copy and paste, right? You should make your own loadout. So what I want you to do is to use this as a template and then find what you like about this, find what you don't like about this, and fuck around and find out, basically. Like, make this your own. Change something you think feels better, add something, remove something, like, just basically fuck around with it. And so I would suggest you that you stick through the explanation part, so if you want to change a certain aspect of the field, you know what to change. And before I go over the attachments, I just want to say why I love this class so much, and that's because I really like the AK-47 in this game. The biggest problem I had with the AK over using other guns is that the AK, the base AK, just feels really heavy to use. Like, I don't have a better way to explain this. Like, I thought a lot about how to phrase this part, but this is the best way I can explain it. Okay, it just feels heavy to use, the base AK. But this build just fixes that. So this is the AK with all its firepower, with good recoil control. At least in my opinion, I really feel that this build is like really easy to control recoil with, but again, we could have different opinions. But this keeps the firepower that the AK has while also not feeling as heavy as the base AK does. And I know you're probably seeing that the firepower is getting nerfed, but don't worry about this. I will explain in depth why you see that the firepower is slightly nerfed. Okay, it's not that big of a difference, although it does seem like a lot from the slider. So starting off, we have the lightweight barrel, and what this does is it increases the ADS speed and your base movement speed. And by the way, before we get into the attachments, if you come here and you click on detailed stats, these are the detailed stats of your entire build. Okay, and this is nothing to be confused about. Okay, this is like really simple stuff. If you like spend like 1 minute, like if you spend 1 minute, like, just going through this, like, this is simple, this is basic stuff. Okay, so I will go through that at the end, by the way, of what the entire build does. But first off, if you're in an attachment and you click detailed stats, then you only see what this attachment specifically changes. You don't see the stats of the entire build. You only see the stats that are affected by this attachment. And by the way, how to read these stats? You see these green stats. These are the stats that are buffed by this attachment. And you see these red stats. These are the stats that are nerfed by this attachment. And the white ones are the default values. Okay, so this is the movement. This attachment, as you can see, it increases the ADS speed by 15% and the movement speed by 5%. So you can see that here, your base movement speed gets buffed to 1, and your ADS speed reduction gets reduced to 255. So less is better, of course, because you want your gun to take less time to ADS. So less is better in this case, of course. And on the left, you see the nerfs to short range and medium range. And this is the only attachment that affects your firepower. But when we go into detailed stats, we see that what it does is it changes what it means to be short range and long range. So in this game, there's like damage fall off, and under 20, by default, under 29 meters, the gun does 22 damage. And by default, between 29 to 43, the gun does 20 damage. But what this attachment does, it slightly nerfs that range. So now it's 26 meter, under 26 meter is 22 damage. and 26 to 39 meters, it's 20 damage per bullet. And that's not that big of a difference, okay? Because it doesn't change the damage, it doesn't change the fire rate, it just slightly nerfs the range, okay? Which in my experience isn't that big of a deal. Like I've used this gun a lot, and it doesn't seem to make a difference. Okay, and this is also the build that I was using in all the PDSs and the betas. So I've used this gun a lot. Okay, so yeah. And moving on, we have the front rail, the pistol front rail, and what this does, it boosts your movement by a lot. It decreases your sprint to shoot time. So basically, when you're sprinting, and you run into someone and you want to shoot at them, there's a transition period. Like you can't just shoot right away. There's like a delay from going from sprint to shoot, and that's this. This doesn't get increased. This gets decreased, but like it's a buff, so that's why it's plus 10%. It's slightly confusing, but it's not that big of a deal. And what this also does, it increases your minimum spread accuracy and your maximum spread accuracy. And this basically just like slightly tightens your hip fire, which in my opinion is not that big of a deal, but it's good to have, I guess. And it slightly nerfs your horizontal recoil, but in my experience, this gun is super easy to control, okay? And at least this build, the base AK maybe not, but this build is super easy to control, which is kind of weird since there's not a specific attachment that does that, but it just feels easier to control. I guess it's because the entire gun feels lighter, it at the same time feels easier to control. Just use it, you'll know what I mean. Like don't go too in depth with the details, although with the stats, I mean, although I am someone who encourages you to look at stats, but sometimes the feel is all that matters, okay? And yeah, that's what our pistol front rail does. Next, optics. Of course, you want to have an optic on your AR, but again, experiment around. See if you like the iron sights. If you do like the iron sight, boom, you have another slot to either get a rear grip on your gun or a muzzle. Okay, so experiment around. And the mag, I have the fast mag instead of the quick mag for this build, and that's because, by the way, I didn't build this build from scratch. I got this build from the internet, and I forgot who it was from, so I can't really credit them. But yeah, the original build I think has had the fast mag, but this is one of the easiest spot for you to example. You can go with the fast mag, you can go with the quick mag, and you see which one you like more. But yeah, you can just experiment with this. And final attachment we have is the stock, and the stock is, I like to go with the folded. You could also go with the removed, but it really fucks up your recoil control. So if you want the movement speed buff without too much effect on your recoil, you can just go with the folded stock. And again, this slightly nerfs your spread accuracy, but as you might remember, that gets buffed here, so it kind of sort of cancels out. Like you still get the 10% buff from here. And yeah, so there's the build. If we come into the detailed stats, we can see then the range is slightly getting nerfed, the movement is slightly getting buffed, the sprint to shoot time, this is the sprint to shoot time, is getting buffed. It's getting lesser, so less in this specific case is good. And your ADS speed, the amount of time it takes for you to ADS, is also getting reduced, so that's also good. Your recoil is slightly getting nerfed, but in my experience using this gun, it doesn't feel much different at all. It actually feels better than the base AK, which is kind of weird, but again, I think it comes from the overall build feeling lighter, so it feels easier to control. But yeah. And the mag size, this is like what the mag does. It increases our mag size and also increases our reload speed. And that's the entire build. Again, I would encourage you to use this as a template and to, just experiment around and see what you like, what you don't like about the build. And yeah, if you do experiment and you seem to like a slightly different build, don't forget to let me know in the comments. Let me know what you changed. Let me know how it feels. And yeah, again, another thing that by the way, this is also going to be in the thumbnail, but this build really feels closer to the AK-74U, which is like a much lighter version of the AK-47, if you don't know. And yeah, I think this build really has this build really fills the gap of that gun, if you know what I mean. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching, and if you like XDefiant content, don't forget to subscribe. I also stream every day on Twitch, so if you want to catch me live, you can go to my Twitch. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching.